Hey everybody, this is AAA Radio where we bring our A-team of adolescents with their A-game. This is a book discussion podcast where we read cilantro books in advance and discuss what we thought of them. This week we are pondering Dante's Inferno, the first book in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Dante's Inferno follows a 35-year-old Dante who, in an effort to reach heaven, feels that he must first understand hell and the sins that are plunged into it. He follows the ghost of Virgil, an ancient Augustan Roman poet and the writer of the Iliad, through the gates of the hell, and down the concentric circles representing each sin. The sins get worse as he descends, from incontinence to violence to bestiality, which is different from bestiality, although that would probably also be classified as a sin. Dante gradually comprehends sinfulness through interactions with the damned, and the book illustrates the intricacies of morality in a complex and coordinated system. Armed with this knowledge, we can take the plunge into this hellish book. Tell me, you Hellions, what is your relationship with this book? What do you think of it? What do you feel when you read it?
I thought it was an excellent book. The only thing that was kind of weird for me was just how archaic the language was, but other than that,
archaic language makes some parts slightly hard to understand. Mildly confused when I was reading it sometimes. Also, how come when Dante writes his Bible fanfic, it becomes one of the most beloved things of all time, but when I write the Bible too, Cthulhu joins the fight, I'm a heretic, huh?
Listen, buddy, you gotta be in a Florentian situation.
Like,
where
once you get past the well-written prose and deeply developed ideas, like at its core, this is a power fantasy self-insert where Dante gets his revenge on all the people he doesn't like and some of the people he kind of likes but doesn't think should go to heaven, along with praising that girl he had a crush on when he was 9 who's already dead. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Honestly, it did feel like that to me as well, because, at the surface level, it does seem like he's talking about hell, but at the same time, it's very, very much a political statement. Very, very much so, because...
hey guys, this Pope is going to go to hell. Ooh, I don't like this Pope.
Despite the fact that even if the Pope is corrupt, as he puts it, technically the Pope would have more jurisdiction and thus be more respected when it comes to opinions on heaven and hell than he would be.
Mm-hmm. And sort of, this is one of those things that the original source material is oft referenced, but not that well remembered. Like, everyone really likes the aesthetic of 9 layers of hell, and that's about it.
What do you mean the original source?
As in modern interpretations or any references that people take with like fantasy or video games or fan fictions of a fan fiction, I suppose would be the right term for it, any book certain about it, would like they take the 9 hell thing and then everything else is in the air. Like the most memorable part is that Dante has 9 hells, each with declining punishments. Like, even though some of the punishments are pretty iconic, I would say, like the literal suicide force was pretty cool. Some of them really fall flat. Like, so what did these guys get punished by? Dante smiles. Wind. What? Windy. Oh, okay, what about next people? It rains a lot. Okay, then. What about next people? They're eternally drowning. Okay, Dante, that feels like a severe escalation.
I mean, I guess in the sense of the rain, it was raining garbage, not just rain, so...
It was raining garbage.
Yeah, it was raining garbage.
Dante. What's the garbage look like, Dante? All the other Bible fan fictions that weren't mine.
The garbage was it was plastic sent from the future before plastic even existed. Just all the ocean waste, the entire Pacific Island garbage patch, just raining down on them.
I mean, to be fair, you can't go to hell for quote unquote violence against nature, which it may include or may not include littering.
Oh no.
Dante, did you include violence against nature? That might also include plucking grass Oh no, Timmy, you plucked grass one time when you were 6. Well, you shouldn't have done that. You're going to hell now. How do you feel, Timmy? Timmy does not speak Italian. Wow, is Dante speechless, huh?
Yeah. Honestly, in regards to he doesn't actually describe to what extent someone needs to commit the sin to actually go to the hell, or to go to that circle of the hell. That kind of acts as a sort of exceptionalism for him, because honestly, there's multiple instances where he basically gives favoritism to some people over others. Like, for example, what is it? Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy. If by his logic, a person goes to the worst sin that they have, the center of the worst sin that they have committed, Helen of Troy should probably go into crimes against country.
But she didn't directly cause it, so that's debatable.
Yeah, but then in that sense, what about what happened in the Circle of Wrath? You know, where there's the swamp, and all the angry people are fighting in the swamp.
Mortal Kombat! Dude. I feel like they have a hell of a time there. Just saying. Wink. Good fun.
Yeah, like, it seems to me that because in that specific place, the Wrath, there was this guy that Dante blamed for kicking him out, even though the guy wasn't actually the one who gave the order to kick them out. He was just associated with the party. In that sense, the guy didn't directly cause him and his religious affiliation to be kicked out of Florence, but regardless, he still places them in the Circle of Wrath. So it just creates this whole sort of exceptionalism where he's prejudiced towards people he doesn't hate as much, and then just really, really harps down on the punishments of people he hates in real life.
Yeah, in that sense, it's almost like revenge
very
against those
personal.
people, kind of tarnishing their name. If
Yeah.
a writer writes that they would go there, then people in real life would then have that prejudice against them.
Yeah, you guys were right when you said it was sort of a power fantasy, because there was also hypocriticism. Like Yusuf, you mentioned the revenge part just now. There was also quite a lot of hypocrisy in there, because he felt the most desire for revenge when he was in the Circle of Wrath. He felt the most wrathful then. By all means, he shouldn't be on the boat. He should be in the swamp with the rest of them.
Yeah.
Especially considering that he did, even if he didn't directly act on his wrath and, like, push the guy back down into the swamp or something, he still egged on the other spirits to, like, fight him and tear at him and be wrathful towards him.
Fight me, Virgil. I think that part is just... I feel like that part's more to make Virgil look cooler. Virgil's like, no, man, this is hell. Don't do that. Don't interact with the dead people. They're bad people. If you do that anymore, I will personally send you here without my guidance. Dante's like, oh, Virgil, you're so cool.
Ignoring the fact that I specifically am not so cool.
But, you chose me, so that implicitly makes me cool in some way.
Well, also, like, at the start, Dante compares himself with Virgil in a way, like, in his writing style and whatever. So, in a way, it also, by portraying Virgil as very cool, it mirrors itself onto Dante a little bit.
Honestly, he portrayed himself. He portrayed Virgil and all the philosophers as cool, but then he then went on to use their coolness to portray himself as cooler, because he plays all the poets, every single one of the ones that he took inspiration from. He put them all in hell.
Yeah, he said he's one of them, but he's better because basically he can go to heaven.
Yeah, like, it's like, he's also a philosopher. I'm just like you guys, but I believe in this very specific creed, and that has nothing to do with my writing, but that implicitly makes me better than you.
Power Fantasy 100.
Yeah.
I guess that's why no one really uses the source field for anything other than the aesthetic of 9 planes of hell.
Honestly, I would say that this was the original Mary Sue.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know what that is. You guys do know what the Mary Sue is, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
the question,
that's
wait,
the
hold on,
person that...
was Lancelot written before this? or after?
Was it? Let's see. When was Lancelot
Because I
written?
remember Lancelot was a fanfictious edition and was functionally a power fantasy because the character was super OP and very much beloved. Kind of dies in some later iteration.
Yeah, Lancelot was written in the 12th century. Divine Comedy was written in the 14th, I guess.
So it's possible that, I mean, depends
Lancelot
on how.
was
I've
the
never
original
checked
name,
it,
too.
I've only heard it. So depending on how power fantasy-ish the actual OG Lancelot script is, that might have been one of the earlier Mary Sues. Hell, you can argue that some of the earliest Mary Sues are interpretations of God. Because, you know, it's a scapegoat for your beliefs.
Mm.
Hey guys, I believe we shouldn't wear cotton mixed with linen. Why? Because my God says so. Okay.
In that sense, do you guys feel that there was a difference between Dante, the character portrayed in the book, and Dante, the writer, narrating the book?
Yeah, I think Dante, the character, is portrayed as more like as good and whatever, like selfless almost, and then Dante, the actual writer, is trying to portray himself as like that so that other people like him. So he's kind of selfish in a way, and getting his revenge through writing. So I don't know. I feel like Dante, the character, is better than Dante, the writer.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least more likable. I mean, not necessarily. I guess more humble would be the thing. Like Dante, the character is wide-eyed. He's like a kid who's
The wide-eyed idealist.
trying to look up to his father, Virgil. You're so cool. No homo though, because that Christianity.
Yeah. I mean, Dante, the character, Dante, the 35-year-old character, again, wasn't the best character either. He was wrathful, but it's like, I guess the Dante's kind of split into two
Wrathful, but
beings.
he's not as wrathful as a guy who would write every person he dislikes and a couple of his friends into hell in his fanfiction. You know, that's take it a step further.
Yeah, honestly. Dante, the character, did feel like he existed for the sole purpose of masking the fact that this was like political espionage almost, and then it was like a rant by Dante, the author.
Mm-hmm. My favorite part of the book is when Virgil threw dirt in Cerberus's mouth. It's just so out of place. Like, oh, is he just going to talk the talk? No, he throws dirt in his mouth. Okay, then.
What was the purpose of that, though?
It's just a way for him to say how Virgil's so cool and can calm the hellhound Cerberus. Ooh. But like, it's just so humorously confusing thanks to the archaic prose. Like earlier talks about how Cerberus has a big round belly, so I just saw a small fat puppy lie on the ground that Virgil throws dirt at. While Dante's cowering in the corner. Nice. The imagery can be very entertaining for modern audiences.
I did not think of it this way, and I'm so thankful for you for bringing that up. Thank you so much.
Like, no one in modern day refers to how plump a creature is to make it look fearsome, Dante. No one does that. You only do that if you want it to look cute. Oh, look how fat that dog is. Does not bring fear to my bones, you know?
Do you think Dante was plump?
Maybe.
Yes.
No. He probably spent a lot of late nights trying to write a decent fanfiction. You know, that makes you lose a lot of weight. And the first thing I searched up after looking through this and then watching OSP's videos, Research Chemicals Production, great YouTube channel on the Divine Comedy, is did Dante ever get together with Beatrice? The answer is no. She was probably dead when this thing was being written. And they were both married to other people at the time of this.
Oh, that must have been awkward. Well, thankfully for Dante, he can cover it up as it being a religious piece. It's religious, guys.
I mean, for I can tell,
he
was supposed to be ascribing to the ideals of courtly love, which is the concept of love transpassing social barriers and making people better people. So it's not necessarily romantic, although it all could be. Which kind of brings in more to the idea of Lancelot, because the Lancelot Mary Sue character was kind of written in to do courtly lot and flirt with Arthur's wife. Very confusing historical fanfiction.
I mean, all writing was probably originally fanfiction of reality.
I mean, yeah, that is an
That's a
interesting
very
way
deep
to put literature.
I mean, in that sense, would you guys have felt a difference between the motivations for the two? What was even Dante the character's motivation? It was like, was it really to meet his long lost love like that? Then, if he was married in real life too,
He already met his long lost love at the beginning.
well, meet them
Virgil.
Again.
Virgil was his long lost love. Beatrice is just, I don't know,
Yes.
some lady, I guess. This is Dante. Lame. Virgil's so cool, guys. Look at how he's helping me the entire time. I don't know. Beatrice is just like goofing off in heaven or something. Lame. Something.
The cool cat Virgil went to hell.
Dante out. Another thing.
Virgil's such a bad boy, guys. He's such a bad boy.
He's so cool, guys. He's like not even in heaven, but he's like has a free pass to all of hell because he's so cool. I mean,
It's
it
like-
kind of makes me wonder. What if some fan fictions I read today will be taken fully seriously in the future? That's just so amusing. I need to go complete the manuscript of Bible 2 Cthulhu Joins the Fray now.
Yes. Sonic X Mario R-rated would definitely be reality someday.
Yeah, that might be
religious
considered
worship.
part of the Sonic canon. Now, kids, turn to page 5 where Sonic eats Mario's right in the well occurs in the background.
Oh, that's very profane of you, my guy.
Like, that's like, look at the way history moves forward. It's like they're going to be putting memes in history books.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
And they're going to be taken
Actually-
fully seriously with people asking, how the hell did anyone find this low-grade garbage funny?
Yes. Nowadays, it's all about the Ethereon. Ethereon memes are all the rage. Can you imagine those archaic beings with their
Like,
Leonardo
this color saturation
DiCaprio?
is called deep fry because it refers to an archaic method of cooking in which the barbaric people of the 21st century would dunk their foodstuff in the whole vat of oil. Ew, this is all the people. We all know that mental cooking is the new way, some kind of obscure dance move being performed. Look, kids, this is called a dab. It was done when people were very enthusiastic sneezers. Ha, that's funny.
And then they became not so enthusiastic sneezers. 4 years later.
The way history moves forward really makes you think, huh? Maybe Harry
Okay.
Potter will be accepted historical fan fiction, huh? And have like the same power as the Arthurian legends, although unlikely because of internet culture.
Mm.
Because the time we're living is unlike any other time. The same could be said for any time in history.
Yeah, that's honestly pretty true. Yeah. In this epic, many critics basically feel that Dante is trying to create a rigorous, completely objective framework by which heaven, hell, and morality as a whole run.
I
Do
see.
you agree with this as this being his primary objective, and do you feel that this framework that he tried to create was rigid? Or do you feel that it was perverted to some degree?
To that I say,
Well, I'm-
violence against nature. Take that, critic. What exactly does that mean? Objective? No. More fleshed out world building? Yeah. And also, the fact that a critic says that implies that in their religion there isn't already an objective morality or framework of heaven and hell, which, a lot of religious folk like to argue about. Also, I'm taking that as a point for no.
Okay. I mean, you could argue that that's why he was trying to create a rigorous objective framework, because most people would probably have at least slightly different interpretations of what is good and what is not. So he was trying to unite them all under one banner, which just so happened to be his banner.
It just happens to be my power fanfic, guys, so I'm nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, ignore that it's by me. It's completely objective, guys. This is reality. But then people at the time probably would have believed in that. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Because the whole ascribing to figures and authority thing was
Because,
particularly prevalent then.
it was kind of a long read, but the Bible is a hell of a lot more of a long read than this one.
Yeah, read this instead of the Bible, guys. It's probably what they
Well,
thought.
Dante, it's actually a lot cooler, or at least most of it.
Okay, Jacob, you were saying something?
Maybe we did touch on this a little bit before, but do you think we were meant to feel sorry for the sinners, or do you think that we should like Virgil said, which is they are sinners, so don't feel pity for them?
I mean, I think you're supposed to feel pity, but on the other hand, you're also not, considering that most of them seem kind of chill.
Hmm.
It's like, I'm on fire. Oh, hi, Dante. How's your sex life? Dante's like, I'm dead. Oh, not really. Wait, you're alive and you're in hell? Did you do something bad? No, I'm getting a tour. Why would anyone want a tour in hell? I don't know. I'm just gonna go walk back in the fire. Ah!
That's a pretty.
That doesn't seem
Oh,
like
great,
someone
great.
who was, just on fire would act.
Did Chiswada want to say something?
I was gonna say that usurps my theory on it, but my theory basically went like again, it's about the whole power fantasy thing. It's like he wants you to know that you should not feel bad for them, but at the same time he's portraying his own character as feeling bad for them to try to replace some of the compassion that he as an author doesn't show them.
Yeah, I feel like that is true. That's kind of why they seem pretty chill when they are talking to him. Because Dante realizes the absurdity of how harsh hell is versus how light some of the crimes are. So in depicting horrific punishments, he has random characters talk to him to show that it's not really as bad as it initially sounds. Like, you get used to having your bones gnawed off after like a couple thousand years.
But in that sense, he also kind of, I don't know if it was inadvertent or not, but he also kind of ends up depicting this hell that he creates as not entirely fair either. Because, you guys know the very first people he met? The very first people were the people who hadn't actually committed any sin?
Yeah.
They just kind of did nothing. And then, despite having done nothing, they were running around, like all the time, constantly chasing an empty flag, and being gnawed on by wasps and maggots. I don't know about you, but that to me sounds worse than the punishment 2 layers down, and 1 layer down. Because 2 layers down, the punishment is just kind of, stay in a storm, boo, big loud noises,
rocks,
darkness.
guys. Water, close,
Yeah.
lead. Ooh, so painful. It's a metaphor, Dante.
And then also on the next level of hell after that, was it the next level? I'm not quite sure. But on the level of garbage, where garbage was basically just raining down from the sky. Like, sure, it's unpleasant, but they're dead. They can't really get sick. So because they can't really get sick, that again seems a little bit less bad than the whole maggots crawling out of your skin thing.
Or fire,
Or fire.
I feel like they're kind of arbitrarily setting the order so that recollecting their exact length is not ideal.
That might also be why he created so many different layers, so that people don't question him. They'll be like, "Oh, okay, it's fine." They go to buy the worst sin. It's fine. It's totally fine. There's probably some reasoning behind it. I can't be bothered to go over it again. Okay, now let's take a little bit of a break for a hypothetical. All right, it's been what, 600 years? No, not 600. It's been closer to 700, 800 years since Dante.
It's been a lot of years.
It's been a lot of years since Dante wrote this book. How do you think that if you were to write this book in modern day and not be mocked on the internet, do you think the landscape of hell that he created would have changed? For example, do you think that the three worst sinners in Lucifer's mouth, like Judas, Brutus, and Cassius, do you think they would still remain the worst sinners, or would, say, worse people replace them?
Hard question, because I think a lot of the sinners are based on like that time's moralities and ethics, right? So if we were to change, like pretty much like our ethic structure right now is so different than before.
Yeah. What do you think would change with our
I
current
think it's
ethics structure?
also it would really depend on the personal vindication of the author. Because, like, Dante was a Roman boy who didn't like the Greeks who took Troy that much and didn't like people who shanked Julius Caesar. Hence why 2 slots of the 3 for being nommed on, which is arguably less bad than being eaten by wasps, fire, and eternally drowning, etc.
In a pool
Happened
area.
like 2 of them are people who shanked Julius. And the third one kind of helped cause something bad. Who was the third guy again?
Judas.
Yeah,
Full
the third
full
one
of
was the person
trash.
who betrayed Jesus. Yeah. Roman Christian guy,
Hmm.
I would say
Okay,
in a
yeah.
modern interpretation, it would focus less on the specific people who are in hell, but more on the world building of the hellscape itself.
So like a more Tolkien-esque sort
As
of
in, the
book?
layers would be more fittingly formatted, so that generally the severity increases as you go down, or it is made a note that go deeper is not necessarily more severe, but rather just an arbitrary way of putting things in, except for like the final layer maybe and limbo. And then it focuses heavily detailing on the punishments and having a set of rule systems along with like answers for exceptions and loopholes, or establishing like an angelly court or something that would look at circumstances. And then I think the easiest way to do the same concept, the Lucifer nomming, without having pissing anyone off, would be either to just use really hated figures, like if you just stuck Stalin, Hitler, and a mosquito in there, no one would blink an eye. Or you could just make it so that
Hitler
there's
and
a lot of
mosquito.
Satans and a lot of noms, and whoever looks at it will see the 3 people they hate most at any time. Now, they could go with a full vindictive fan fiction where the entire journey of hell doesn't show you who's actually in there, rather who you think could be in there. That's an interesting idea.
I think, yeah, it'd be more like nameless people.
Like pandering to the whole, the greater importance that we ascertain to the masses rather than specific important figures, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or just, if you don't
Or
want to be
it
endlessly
either,
mocked for your stupid ideas, don't personally have a vendetta about a bunch of people you probably know nothing about.
If you wrote in modern day, there would probably be a hitman. Especially about the one guy, I forgot his name, but he said that there was one guy who was so bad that he was still alive, but then he was dragged down to hell anyway. And then put in like the frozen tundra layer. If he did that to someone in modern day, he'd probably get a hitman on him.
Probably not. He'd probably just get angry internet assassinations and a couple of swats and doxes.
Yes.
Another thing.
Honestly,
I
I'm
feel
surprised.
like
Yeah.
whoever the guide is would be hilarious, depending on whatever dead famous celebrity is chosen. Like I have my bets on Steve Irwin being the Virgil stand-in. Crikey, mate, there's a wild Satan. Oh, hi, Steve.
Yes. That would be pretty good.
Steve Irwin would know how to deal with Cerberus.
But would Steve Irwin go to the hell though?
Was he
He's
Christian?
like the opposite of crimes against nature.
Yeah, was he Christian?
I don't know, maybe.
No, then he's in limbo by the current rules. I don't know. Maybe he's in heaven.
Yeah.
He's popping back.
We
And like
need
he's
a
super
philosopher.
nice to everyone the whole time, but when he uses crimes against nature, doesn't look at disgust.
We need a philosopher though, like Sigmund Freud or something, but he's jaded.
I have my bets on that Greek guy he defecated in public, and Alexander the Great really liked. What was his name?
Was it Democritus?
Yeah, I think so. It was the guy who told Alexander to move out of the way when he asked him to give him anything. Poor guy.
Yeah. I would have my bets on either him or like Voltaire or something. Okay. Honestly, I'm surprised no one's done this. I'm surprised no one's tried to rewrite modern day satirists. Because, like, with Pride and Prejudice, someone wrote Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. How comes no one's tried to write.
Dante is religious, and people don't like touching religion because for some reason, if your opinion's religious, it gives you some more level of credence, even though it shouldn't.
I guess that's. But plenty of people who overcame that barrier and then wrote stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's just because the Divine Comedy just, other than its core aesthetic of there being 9 hells, isn't that well known. Like, there's not that much to work off as a satire unless you actually read the source material. Which I doubt most of the people who made media related to it actually did.
I'm sure Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, right? Or read Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, probably, because there's nothing to go off of if you don't.
Yeah.
So Pride and Prejudice doesn't have a core aesthetic or a deep, booming theme of literally being hell.
I guess that's fair. How many humble brags did you spot? Like humble brag, where he stands in front of the entire panel of philosophers that happened before his time, and basically just condemned them all to hell, and he was like, yeah, they're great and all, but they're still here, so...
If there's a modern interpretation, Dante would 100% look at the camera, wink, and then the Seinfeld theme would play. One
that I noticed was when they were passing the river, and then basically he wrote that Virgil said, "Oh, if the guy doesn't want you to pass the river, that means you're good," basically.
Yeah, and then marks himself as good necessarily. Imagine how ironic it would be if there was a hell, and then, like, hypothetically, if there was a hell, and then he ended up there.
Dante would be like, so, what is X my crime? Well, on page 32 of the Bible, it says, "Thou shalt not write self-insert power fantasy fan fiction." Dante would say, well, that's oddly specific, and they'd say, so is your fan fiction, slap knees. God damn it, so. Ha! I can see that. Maybe he'll also end up with Virgil in limbo. And then Virgil would tell him that he thinks he's lame. Then Dante would die on the inside a second time.
No.
Dislike by Virgil Senpai. No.
Well, you kind of did ask. You kind of did talk about it when you asked about like who would be here in present times, but like just in general, maybe not that specific. Do you guys think that there is any like message that is relevant or theme that's relevant in like modern, like 21st century society and not medieval society? Because like we've gone way more atheistic over the years, and like some of the definitely most of the allusions in the book are outdated by far. So I was just wondering what you guys thought about that.
When you say messages, do you include messages that we have ascertained and that he wasn't intending to say, or just messages purely that he intended to make?
Just any type of messages, like.
Okay, in that case, don't write self-insert power function because you will be ravaged by teenagers on the internet.
I would say the message of Dante's Inferno is be careful who you make fun of high school, otherwise your name might be immortalized in a self-insert power fantasy of hell and you won't be known for anything else.
Yeah.
Those guys, all the people who pissed Dante off, they're like, well, shit, when they read his fanfic.
Honestly, not ravaging on the book itself, because the book is pretty interesting to read, but this is kind of
interesting book.
It's kind of the equivalent of the 14th century equivalent of a Twitter rant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like really long.
But a really good Twitter rant.
Yeah, it's a pretty good Twitter rant.
A
Very
series of
entertaining.
Twitter rants.
Yeah.
Each canto.
Do you have anything to add, Yusuf?
Yeah, it's like each canto is like a Twitter rant instead.
What about you? Did you feel there's anything new that still ascertains to modern day situations?
No, I kind of. That's what I was asking. That's why I was interested because I kind of felt like not that much relevance other than like, yeah, don't complain. But that didn't feel like the intended message. Didn't really feel like it was relevant to that much, at least to today.
I guess with
wait,
the whole. I
There's
guess
one
with the
super
whole.
important message.
Okay.
Don't
Yep.
litter.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good message.
Don't
Otherwise,
commit violence against nature, guys. Actually, violence against nature is probably the most relevant thing in modern day. The world is on fire. The hurricanes are rising. The Amazon's burning down. The sea levels are rising. Violence against nature really has starting to turn the world into a living hell.
Yes, it's ironic enough. The hell from in the violence is becoming reality.
Mm-hmm.
The fire raining down from the skies as people
Australia
or
got
run or lie down on burning sands. That's going to become reality soon with global warming. Breaking news: Dante actually knew about global warming all along. He was trying to warn us. That's the purpose of the book.
Dante was actually a time traveler, guys. Oh, what a twist.
But honestly, besides that, I feel like it also does raise the question. It doesn't really raise answers to it, but it raises the question about what would morality as a whole, what would communal morality look like? What would the morality that exists in, that's a combined aesthetic of not one person's headspace, but the combined headspace of all the people? What would that morality look like? Would it cancel out because of differences in morality? Would there ultimately be no morality on average? Or would there actually be a set standard by which that could exist based on everyone's moralities combined?
I mean, there'd definitely be a vague guideline.
But how vague is it? That's the question.
If we take it so that everyone's vague guidelines, like majority rules, like some things that would definitely would be irrelevant murder would be not allowed. What irrelevant murder means is up to interpretation, but hey. Because, like, no one wants random chaos, or at least very, very few people want truly random chaos. And because of that, certain orderly things will just occur enough times that you'll be able to set a standard by that process of repetition. And besides, it's not like we live in an objectively moral society or anything of the sort. Yet our morality developed regardless.
The question is, did our morality exist like at least as a seedling in like a literal evolution because of our inherent nature as social animals, or was it something that we conjured up through our headspace and then rolled with it for the rest of our existence?
I mean, it's probably has an evolutionary nature, simply because, like, if you don't want to be murdered, you're considerably more likely to take actions to prevent being murdered than someone who thinks murder is pretty chill. So morality could evolve through that way. Like, empathy can be a purely evolutionary phenomenon.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, I guess we can end it there for now. Do we have a message that we have determined through this arbitration of
Moral of the story: don't litter, or you're going to go to hell.
Honestly, climate change is a really bad thing, so we gotta fix it if we all don't want to have burning sands raining down on us from the sky as we sit, lie, or run in it.
Ta-da!
Alright,
We're done.
goodbye.
Bye.